Joining me tonight is the one and only Paul Cardullo. He is here to talk with us about a film that we saw in conjunction with the Fantasia International Film Festival. The movie is called Manoir. It's a French horror comedy from Tony T. Datis and a number of French YouTube stars, if I understand correctly. Paul, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing, Doc?
I'm doing well. Tell us a little bit about Le Manoir. What are we in for here?
Well, if just the synopsis sounds pretty generic. It's a group of 20-somethings head to an isolated country manor, and it's presumably New Year's, but what they're going to do is they want to celebrate it in as a year 2000 theme party. I'm like, year 2000 wasn't that long ago. I'm like, oh wait, it was. So it's a costume party where they're dressed in year 2000, I guess, style. And during the party, people start disappearing and then dying. And so it's a pretty straightforward setup. It's where they go with that really sets it apart.
So what about this film made it work for you? What's happening here that makes it a happy film?
Well, so what's kind of interesting is at first I didn't think it was working for me because at first the comedy didn't quite seem to gel. Probably that is due to lost in translation. In fact, when I first watched it, didn't even realize that the cast was made up of French internet stars from YouTube and Daily Motion and things like this. So that part was kind of lost on me initially. What got me over that initial hump was the kind of neat fact that the nature of the threat is unknown. Lots of times you go into a movie, you're like, oh, it's a slasher, it's a supernatural film, it's what? During this film, you don't really know what's threatening our characters because you're seeing it more from their perspective. So you don't know if it's a supernatural threat or if it's a crazed killer or what till you get well into the third act. So that's kind of neat because it pulls you along. And by that point, it had actually won me over, and the characters, I was starting to get used to who the characters were and their delivery. So at that point, the humor really started kicking in. So at first, it was like I wasn't quite getting the jokes. I'm going, well, am I missing this because I'm not French or I don't know who these people are? But then it starts kicking in, and you start getting won over by these characters. And actually, what I was thinking about is going, the fact that we are unfamiliar with who these characters, the celebrities are. At first, you go, well, I don't know. Are they playing against type? Are they playing off their types? But then again, you sit there and you go, I don't have any prejudice against them. I know if I was going into a horror movie, and it's like, oh, look, it stars PewDiePie or some other well-known American YouTube star, I might have some prejudice against it. Whereas here, you go and you go, oh, wait, I'm just accepting these as the characters. So at that point, it actually became a plus and not a minus.
Well, how does it? You said it was a horror comedy, but how does it work on the horror side of things? Do we get some nice gore?
Yeah, there's some nice gore. There's some interesting things that happen there as well. You do have a character who's found hanging from his rather large member, and so you get some interesting things. There's actually a sick and fun bit involving a character and a series of some bear traps that they run across, and so you have some nice gore in there. You have this kind of thriller aspect of it as well, and it's a kind of nice balance between the horror and comedy in it.
Well, as we do every review, what is your favorite scene?
Well, my favorite scene actually would be that bear trap scene. You have a character shows up late to the party, and he's kind of a ladies' man type. And as he's walking up, they're all kind of excited to see him because things are they're like, yay, we have somebody to kind of, at this point, things have gone bad. And they're like, yay, he's rescued us. And he walks up and slam right into it, like the biggest bear trap you ever saw. And, as some of the other characters work their way over to try and pry him out of it, they screw up and let it go, and it completely severs his legs at the knee. And, it's very goofy. And then they have him, as he's bleeding out, they move him into the house, and he's in the bed, and he's basically bleeding out and dying, but he's like such a ladies' man. He's more concerned with getting two of the female characters to make out as he's sitting there bleeding to death. And it's actually very goofy and very fun in kind of a sick sort of way.
And what is your score for Le Manoir?
Well, I like I said, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. It took a little bit to grow on me, so you might have to sit there and let go. But I'd say a good solid 3.5. Because again, it might rate higher for somebody who's familiar with French pop culture, but it's still worth checking out because it's the cast is rather charismatic. I mean, there's a reason I think these people have become internet stars. So yeah, it's 3.5, solid 3.5. Definitely check it out.
All right, Paul. Well, thank you very much. And that film, of course, we saw in conjunction with the Fantasia International Film Festival, which is annually in, I guess, July and August. If you want to hear more of these reviews, head over to gruesomemagazine.com. Also check out Horror News Radio Podcast and the Decades of Horror Podcast. And be sure to look into the Gruesome Magazine Quarterly we have coming out every quarter. That's digital and in print on demand. All right, Paul, let's say goodnight.
Good night, Doc.